Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sorting Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Florin, and today we are happily accompanied by
Samantha Coleman.
Samantha. She's been a dear friend of mine for I don't know how many years. Has it been almost 11 this year? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're past
Oh
10.
my gosh.
Oh my God. Time flies by so fast. And today, Sam is joining us because I wanted to do an episode about mental health. And Sam is one of the best person to be talking about that. So if you are interested in this, then let's get into it. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Get to know you a little bit more.
So I am married. I live in Utah. We have 2 dogs, and I work with adults with disabilities. So on this topic of mental health, I work daily with it. I think it's a huge part of life that people don't take seriously a lot of times. So getting to do things on a day-to-day basis that help people with their mental health has been really rewarding.
I agree. And I love that. Let's try and sort of go back in time, and what was the first time you heard about mental health, maybe, or the first time you truly acknowledged it?
Honestly, for me, I think mental health became a thing right after I lost my dad when I was 15, I think. Been a really long time, 12 years now. And because when you're young, you don't think about mental health things. You don't think about, oh, I need to take a day to just let my brain recharge. You're just living in the moment, trying to get through high school.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't until my dad passed away and then I started therapy that I really started thinking about mental health and how that really impacts life. So about 15 years old is kind of when it started for me.
It's really early.
Yeah, I'd say so.
For some people, I feel like mental health isn't a subject that people talk about until they probably get into college and start adulthood, and then they start to realize, oh, maybe there's some things here that I need to work on, you know?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too at 15 years old, especially for developmental brain function, understanding mental health and going through mental health are 2 very separate things. And I definitely was going through mental health things for a very long time before I understood what mental health was. And I don't think I understood what mental health really was until I was maybe 22. So I had, 7 years of just what the F?
Yeah.
Just trying to get through and process all these emotions that I didn't have coping skills with until I was in my 20s.
Yeah. Because you're also you mature a little bit. And so you understand things a little bit more. So that way, you wouldn't really truly understand when you're 14 or 15. You wouldn't understand that the scale of things, the spectrum of all the emotions that can happen all at once. It's there's so many things. And so I'm not surprised that, you went through that. Well, you completely understood it in your 20s.
Yeah. And I'm still understanding it, still dissecting things.
Yeah,
and
still learning.
I mean, it's definitely a revolving door of learning things, because otherwise, if you don't, if you stop learning what mental health is, then you're not working on your mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's just something that you constantly have to work on.
Definitely.
Because there will be times where you're oh, I think I'm fine. And then something triggers something in you and you're whoa, okay, I'm actually not fine. And, it's maybe a coping mechanism that you didn't know you had, and you learn it later. So yeah, I think it's just something you constantly have to work on.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
We see that every day.
Yep.
Testing the waters every day. Like waking up and be like, okay, how does it feel today? Nice. Okay, let's move on. And then you have
Yeah.
other days where you're like, oh, this is bad. You just
Yeah.
like
Well, like
feel
for
it in your core.
like for example, just this morning, I wasn't planning on going to brunch with my husband and his parents, and then I woke up and he's like, "Well, my mom's husband's coming, so I don't want to be the only one who doesn't have a spouse. You're coming with me." And I was like, "Okay." But that last minute change for me, like,
Mm-hmm.
caused a little bit of like social anxiety, and so going out, like, it was so hard not to have a bad attitude because my anxiety had spiked. And so we came home and I was like, I'm sorry, but if my attitude seemed really poor this morning, it like I just wasn't anticipating having to like interact in a social setting in public today. And so like I hadn't prepared my mind the night
Yeah.
before for it.
Yeah. I get that so much because sometimes when you have like a whole plan for the day and then all of a sudden something changes and your brain and your mind wasn't ready for it. And
Mm-hmm.
so like you have to rewire your whole train of thoughts and also like your anxiety because it's like, oh my God, I hadn't planned this. I hadn't planned this and I hadn't planned to go out. Like what what do we do? What do we
Yeah.
do?
Like my whole plan for my morning had just been I'm gonna lay in bed, he's gonna take our client to work, I'm gonna sit here and write for a few hours, do the podcast, and then play some video games with him tonight. And then he threw the whole like, let's go socialize in there. And I was like, I wanted to go. Like I did. I really wanted to go because, good food and I love his parents. Um, but like just this it's the social setting for me
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like it
Like
just throws me.
yeah, you weren't your brain didn't know that you needed to like socialize this morning.
And I think a lot of people don't take that into account as like mental health. They just see it as like, oh, I'm just frustrated. But there's
Yeah.
always like a root to why you're frustrated. And for me, like I know now that it's just I have really bad social anxiety and I didn't know that until like maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to pinpoint that and actually recognize, hey, I'm having social anxiety right now. I'm gonna, do my coping skills, which for me, I have like spinner rings. And so I was just sitting there playing with my rings this morning
Yeah.
while we were at breakfast. And that helped a lot. But just learning that only 2 years ago, and I'm what, 28 this year? Like that's just it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just like constantly learn that you have things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it really shows that you're just like constantly working on your mental health.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like for me, if I don't keep it at the forefront of my mind, that's when I find I spiral.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Definitely.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, you've answered that because like my next question was like, when did you start realizing that your mental health was something you needed to pay attention to? That pretty much
Yeah, probably
sums
about
it up.
yeah, probably about 18, right when I moved out. I was like in college and like trying to figure everything out. I was off my ADHD meds and I was failing at college. I was in really bad relationships and all of a sudden I was like, okay, cut the relationships out because
Mhm.
obviously this isn't serving me right now. And
Exactly.
I literally took a year where I actually stopped talking to a lot of my friends, even someone I considered a best friend back then. Like, stopped talking to them for a whole year. And I literally hunkered down, went to therapy, got back on my medications. And I didn't get diagnosed with anxiety until literally 2 or 3 years ago because I guess I wasn't bad enough then that I needed medication. But the older I got and when I got
Mhm.
like mature enough and into a high stress job, that's when I realized, oh, here's more for me to work on. But definitely
Here's
around
anxiety served on a silver platter for you.
literally, literally, my job just threw me for a whole loop. That's a whole other story. But yeah, 18 definitely is probably right around the time when I moved out college, realizing, oh, I'm on my own. I should probably start working on whatever's going on up here.
It's like you can't keep pushing it back.
Yeah. And I
Like,
was definitely that person that bottled everything up until I just imploded. I wasn't ever someone who like exploded, but I would like
mhm,
implode on myself, and that was
yeah,
never.
I'm the same like that. I'll just take everything in, and then one day I'll just explode because
Mhm.
like your body cannot hold that much emotions, anxiety, fear,
Yeah.
like anything.
I think the other thing too that I had to learn was that crying is a good thing.
Yeah,
Like I cry when I'm angry, I cry when I'm frustrated, I cry when I'm sad, all those things, but like on a science level, like it crying is literally how your body releases stress.
yeah,
And so
exactly.
when my friends are having a bad day, I'm like, go sit in your shower, turn on a sad song and cry. I'm like, whether you're
Yeah.
actually need to cry or not, like triggering that response sometimes can
Hmm.
help at least release the
Yeah.
stress so you can then focus and like
Start.
try to work through whatever the heck was bothering you that day.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I feel like for my younger years, that's what I would always do unconsciously. Sometimes I'd purposely avoid sad songs because I knew that I would cry.
Yes.
And so sometimes I'd find myself in the bathroom, like even in my 20s, like just all of a sudden a Hannah Montana song pops in, and it's like Don't Want to Be Torn or like Every Part of Me or like Love the Let's Go.
Yes.
And so I just start
The
bawling my
climb.
eyes out. And then it's a cycle that lasts for like 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you get out of the bathroom, your eyes are popping out of your skull,
Mm-hmm. Can't breathe.
red, and you have a headache
Mm-hmm. Your nose
because it
is so
was so
stuffed up
bad
you
because you've
can't
been
breathe.
holding it for so long.
Yep.
So it's like it's like also for me, it was a process also to realize that crying doesn't make you weak
Absolutely not.
because you also have this societal pressure where it's like if you show a little bit too much, if you show that you're, I don't know, sad
Or
or
emotional. Like,
just like emotional in general, and specifically for women, it's like it's thrown in your face like, oh, if you can't handle that, you're just weak.
yeah. Well, and I think it goes the same for men too, where like they're told, or maybe not even told so much, but a lot of guys that I've talked to, they're like, I've never seen my dad cry. So they
Yeah,
take that from
that too. Yeah,
so they take it from childhood where it's like, if I cry, I'm weak. And it's
yeah,
like for men, it's just if you cry, you're weak. And so they like, I feel so bad because they like shove it down. And I mean, like for me, like I've only seen my husband cry maybe 3 or 4 times. And we've been together for 7 years.
yeah,
And I always like when it's happening, I'm like, I encourage him to. I'm like, it's okay. Like, let it out.
yeah.
My shoulder's
True.
right here. Like, please, like, you are safe. You like this is healthy.
Yeah,
Let it out.
it's healthy. Like let it out.
And as a woman, too, it's hard because we have those extra fun hormones that just make it a lot easier for us to like start crying off the handle. And it sucks. And I feel like if you're not in one of those safe spaces where you can cry and people are not going to look at you differently, like
Hmm.
it's hard.
Yeah, that just reminded me that, when my cousins would get, in trouble or would fall, my uncle would literally go to them and be like, "Don't cry.
Ugh,
You're not hurt. You're fine.
that
You're
makes
not
me
hurt. You're fine. Don't cry." And so you would see them like hold it in, like
so it's
like
like
literally. And
it's
my
like
my
the
brother
cop.
did that too.
Yeah, it's like the cop from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs where he's got that tear running down his cheek and then he's like, "Get back in there, tear." Like and he
Yeah,
like
exactly. Like inhale back the tears.
yeah, and it's sad and it's like I implore people not to do that. It's not
Yeah,
helpful.
let your child go through whatever emotion they're going through right now. Because then
Mhm.
it ends up being emotions that they never got to feel. And so it's
Process, yeah.
stuck somewhere and they couldn't process it. So even if they just fell, let them cry it out.
Yeah,
Even
like
if the noise bothers you or people are looking at you, you don't care about that.
who cares if like sure, like they fell, but maybe they're crying because they're embarrassed, not because it hurt. Or maybe they're crying because it shocked them, not because they're hurt. Or maybe they are crying because it hurt. Because, you know, sometimes falling, you scrape your hands, it does hurt. But there's so many emotions that can come up when even just that small of a situation can happen. And it's like, let them process.
Yeah.
Give them the safe
Yeah,
space
let
to
them
process
process for
that.
5 minutes, be there for them, be present, and then be like, you're okay. Cry it out. You can cry it out and you'll be fine.
Yep, validate it. And then teach them how to move on, because the world doesn't end because you had a crying session.
Yeah.
You got to pick yourself back up and go on to the next 5 minutes and start laughing at a joke you just saw on Instagram or whatever the heck. Like,
yeah,
it's totally normal to like, and it, I think especially like sometimes probably for people, like it feels like a bipolar switch going off where it's like, oh, I'm crying 1 minute and then the next I can go and sit and like go have fun with friends. But no, it's just your body released the stress.
yeah.
So now you can move forward to go enjoy the rest of your day or the rest of whatever's
now you
going
just
on.
feel better, and so you can just like be yourself and be fun and be like whatever. It doesn't have anything to do with being like bipolar or like lunatic. Like,
but
you've never seen those behaviors, those true behaviors, if you think this is like some kind of bipolar thing.
yeah, definitely.
It's like, that is nothing. That is nothing. Crying from like at 1 p.m. and then laughing at 1.5 p.m. That's fine. That's
Totally
fine.
fine.
You're good. You're just normal. This happens.
And everybody's processing time is different. You know, you could cry for 5 minutes and then be fine 5 minutes later. It could be 45 minutes and then like 5 hours before you're okay.
Yeah. Like
Like,
everybody processes things differently. We don't all have the same coping mechanisms. So like one of the things with mental health is like it's so different
very
based on
different.
the people.
Very, very different. Like, as an example for like a coping mechanism, my poor gaming computer, the hard drive in it decided to completely die, and so I got the BIOS screen of death last weekend as I was like trying to play video games with my husband. And you know, I've had a bad history with consoles just like either not being mine and then them breaking, or it being mine and it like someone else breaking it. And so I've had this computer for like 4 or 5 years now. And when it broke last weekend, I literally sat here on the floor in my little sanctuary room and laid my head down on my sweatshirt and literally just stared at the floor for like 2 hours while my husband tried to like troubleshoot and fix it. And I literally just felt so numb because I was like, this is one of like my biggest coping mechanisms because it's where I write, it's where I play my games, it's where
It's where you're like
and
everything
so,
is.
instead of have it like poop out on me like that, it really shocked me because I wasn't expecting it. So I literally laid here on the floor for like probably a good 2 hours, and then he sticks his head over the air mattress and is like, guess what? And I was like, what? And he's like, I found you a hard drive. We're gonna go get it right now. And so at 10 o'clock at night, we drove 30 minutes south, picked up the hard drive, came back. It was an hour round trip, put the new hard drive in, and then he got everything that we needed installed. And by the next morning, everything was fine. And so because we had been watching a show when it happened on my computer, luckily we were able to get the hard drive, let it start downloading, and then at like 10:30 at night, we just finished watching our show on the TV instead of on my computer. So like it interrupted what we were doing, but there was another way to continue doing what we were doing. And so I was okay as soon as I realized that there was a solution.
Yeah. It's just also like, I feel like I've had that thing where with my first computer, I had a hard drive too, and I was downloading all of my TV shows on it. So you bet that there was the first 3 seasons of Pretty Little Liars on this.
Yes.
The first 2 seasons of The Vampire Diaries. There was the
gosh.
first season and second season of Glee on there too. And since it was at a time where we didn't have Netflix, we didn't have Disney Plus, Like those things were for me my only way to escape my reality. So that was like by watching those shows on my hard drive. And one
Mm-hmm.
day my computer just started going to shit and
No.
wasn't doing anything. And I was in the process of putting everything on the hard drive. Cause no, yeah, everything was on my computer at first, but then my mom bought a hard drive. And so I was downloading everything and copying everything on the hard drive. But I wasn't done with everything. And then my computer just started to glitch. And so we took it to a friend of ours that works on computers and stuff. He looked at it and he came back like 2 hours later. He was like, okay, there's the biggest virus on this computer. I'm going to have to reset it for it to work again. And the moment those words came out of his mouth, I ran out of the room, literally, like so drama queen. Ran out of the room, ran out of the room, hid in the dryer room, and just, you know how in some movies and TV shows, the actor, like the character, will like put his back on the wall or the door and then slowly slide down. That was me. That was me realizing all the hours I had spent downloading films and all my TV shows
Oh my
go
God.
down the drain. To this day, I never got the Vampire Diaries seasons back. I only have the Pretty Little Liars one.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I
Oh my
got
god, it
really
was so
lucky.
sad.
I got
And my mom
really
was like,
lucky.
stop overreacting like this is fine. It's just the computer. And I'm like, no, it's not just the computer for me.
You're
There's
like,
all
this is
my
my
TV
stress
shows on
relief.
there. You don't know how many hours I spent downloading those things. Days.
Yeah.
Months.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got really lucky that last weekend, one, I learned my lesson the hard way before, and so I all of my writing is on the cloud on Google
Yeah,
Drive. So
you
I
don't
didn't
want to lose
lose
that.
anything. I didn't lose anything, which I was like, that was
Oh,
the first
God.
thought that went through my head was like, "Oh my gosh." And I was like, "Wait, no. There's not actually anything important on there other than just like my games, but like those can just get re-downloaded. I'm not worried about that." And then I was like, "Oh, thank goodness." So that was definitely nice. But also, can we like rewind for a second and realize how we're old enough that Netflix wasn't a thing?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
remember that Netflix was one of the kiosks, or you got the disc in the mail.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, you know, when even it was the start of Netflix when I stayed over for the first time in your house, but we were still going to Safeways to get
Oh yeah,
DVDs.
the Redbox DVDs. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
To watch
gosh.
in the RV.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, back when DVDs were still a thing.
Yeah, I still buy my DVDs. Well, for Wicked.
Well, yeah, of
For one
course.
movie specific.
But now it's all digital. Anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that because holy cow.
I just remember like struggling to find the episodes when they were coming out. So I had found a little loophole on YouTube. That person was updating like 3 to 4 minute clips of those episodes back to back. It's 40
Oh
minute episodes.
my gosh. That
And
person's
so I
a
would
saint.
watch those clips back to back and wait for the next one.
Oh my gosh.
Like before I figured out that there was illegal streaming websites.
Yeah. The things we do for our mental health escape space.
Yes, like it was at a time where it was difficult for me to be in my family, like feeling like an outcast and having a very hard relationship with my mom. God bless her. I love her to death, but
Love
you know, yeah, I love you, mom.
mom.
But the thing with my mom was that it's very hard to communicate with her because we have two different ways of communicating. My mom is more like, if you have something on your mind, talk about it right now, let it out of your chest, and then you can go on about your day. And I'm more like, oh, I have something on my chest. I need to process it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And once I've done that, we can talk about it.
Yeah. I think it's funny because for myself, I'm very much the same way where it's like I need to process, I need to take time to like figure out what I want to say. But when it comes to other people, I used to do this with my husband all the time where I'd just be like, no, I need you to talk about it like right now because like my anxiety was like I need it solved right this second. But like because I didn't have a handle on my own anxiety, I was pushing that onto him and trying to make him process faster when that wasn't how he works.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had to learn for myself and for others now that, you know, it's become a really good skill where it's like it doesn't have to be solved right this second. And that's okay. And so
Yeah.
it's taken a long time for me to like get to a point where it's like, okay, I don't need to push to have the person tell me how they're feeling. They are allowed their safe space to process
Oh my God.
and figure it out.
It would have maybe helped the situation a little better because, you know, when I'm like processing things and, you know, like we might be both angry about a certain subject, I'm just like, I need to process it before I say some things that are going to be mean just for the sake of being mean.
Mm-hmm.
So let me process it. Let me process my anger, let it out, let it go. And then we can talk about it when I'm less angry.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing too for that in particular, I think it's the difference between fight and flight. It's one person wants to fly away so they can process, but if they're not allowed to do that, they feel like back into a corner. And so instead that switch flips and they switch to fight and then things just
Exactly. And it explodes and you say things that you don't really mean. And you just want to be mean with your words because
because you feel
you're like,
disrespected because you're not getting
yeah,
the space that you need to do what you need to do to be able to have a healthy conversation.
yeah. And you just like try to say as many bad words as you can just so that the other person will feel like, okay, they might actually do need the time to process.
It's like if you don't understand, let me show you. And like
Yeah,
having
I'll
to
show
show
you.
somebody how upset you are is so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
first and
Because
foremost, because you put so much energy. Like for me, it's draining.
yes.
It's so draining. And then you take so much time coming back from that high
Mm-hmm.
because you were forced to be put in that high.
And I find that it takes longer than to process because then you also have to process the guilt and the negative feelings about
Yeah.
I just blew up on this person because I'm feeling this way. And it's like, well, I shouldn't have done that, but it's because of this. And then you're like going back and forth. And it's kind of what my mom calls the what is it? The hamster wheel of destruction you get on. And
Yeah.
then you start
Like,
spiraling until you literally just go flying off of it. And you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, what the hell just happened?
yeah. And it just like made the situation 10 times worse than it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
And you go like really off the rails because you don't talk about the main subject that you were supposed to talk about and communicate on. You just go on about every other problem that this person has put you in
Mm-hmm.
that were small, but
Mm-hmm.
you could process them and you're fine with them. But just because in the spite of the moment, you have to go fight because they're not giving you the space that you need. So you try with your words to get that space by being mean.
Yeah,
Like,
by any means necessary.
yeah, literally, you're like, I will get any word out of my mouth just to see which one will get to
Mm-hmm.
make you go away
Yeah.
and leave me alone.
Yeah. I always tell people that, you know, my husband and I don't fight. We don't fight in like the traditional sense of like, I'm going to scream and yell at you or we're going to argue, like things like that. Our tiffs is what I call them, are very silent. for the most part. Like usually it'll be like we'll say something, we'll come up across an issue, and then it takes a minute for both him and I to process. And before, I used to be the one that would push, where now I know that we both need space to process. So we can actually like take a second. He'll go do his thing for a little bit. I'll go do my thing for a little bit. Usually that just involves me just laying on the bed with like tears falling down my face. But if that's how you process, that's how you process. And then we're able to come together and like be like, okay, it's us against the problem. What's the problem? And then we're able to like talk and fix it. And I think that's the healthiest, like he really is the healthiest relationship I've ever had, because we understand that about each other. And because we put the work in to get to that point.
Yeah.
Like I think I can count on one hand the amount of times we've like snapped and been bitchy at each other.
In 7 years, that's good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Especially with everything we've been through. I mean, like, you saw how we were living in Florida. I mean,
you could have been at each other's throats a lot more times than you actually did. And that's...
And I think maybe twice in Florida. And then in Florida, that's where we learned the whole, like, if we're in a fight, you do not leave the house rule. It was really dumb, but we got into like this little like tiff, and I had to go pick something up within a time frame from like, how you do like pickup orders and stuff. I think I was picking up a fit or something like that. And like I had to go pick it up within the next half hour because I'd waited too long. And so we got into a little bit of a tiff, and then I literally had to leave or they were going to put it back on the shelf. And so like my brain in that instant put the stupid little Fitbit over our relationship. And like I literally cried the entire way to Best Buy. Picked it up, grabbed it. The guy was like, "Are you okay?" And I just rolled my window up and like started backing out and just left. And I came home, literally threw the thing on the bed and like gave him a hug. And I was like, "I'm never doing that again." I was like, "Never, ever am I gonna do that again." Because the amount of guilt I felt to just like walk out of the house, because it feels so final.
Yeah, it can feel very final as soon as you're like closing the door.
Yeah, there's something about closing that door. Yeah, the amount of guilt I felt on that. So we created a rule of like, if we're having a little bit of a disagreement, we don't get to leave the house unless it's together.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very smart rule in a way, because like I feel like there could be situations where one might be trying to like flee the situation. And so having that rule of like nobody's getting out of the house as long as it's not fixed or we haven't talked about it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fixed, but it has to be at least somewhat repaired. We do repair hugs, which is, it sounds so silly, but like
sounds sweet.
As soon as we're done like talking and stuff, we'll look at each other and we will give each other a hug to like get that physical regulation. And I highly recommend it if you ever need it. Like if you ever get into an argument with your other half, like make sure when you're done and you've talked about it to just look them in the eye, tell them you love them, and give them a big fat hug. Like it really does help. For me and my husband too, like one of his love languages is physical touch. So like for him, that really feeds. So for him, that feeds his physical touch, where I'm very much like words of affirmation and acts of service. So definitely
it's
always
very reassuring.
Yes. So the "I love you" is reassuring to me, and the hug is reassuring
to him. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like once you can learn and are able to communicate that way with your other half is one of the ways that will make your relationship last the most.
Oh yeah. I have always said this to him. I have not ever once doubted our relationship of, does he love me? Will he ever cheat? Like all of those things have never been doubts in my mind ever, which has been very nice after
very calm.
Yes.
Something that is not to feed the anxiety.
Yes, please. Let's just keep the beast in her box.
Yeah, you don't need that on top of everything else. And it's like also if you are in a relationship and feel that, you might have some doubts or might have some like, I always think that those thoughts are always funded from like an act that the person has done or maybe your own insecurities. And that is probably like one of the things that you might need to work on. Like
Mm-hmm.
there probably is trauma from this, like those trigger thoughts that you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm wondering what he's doing. He better not be cheating on me or like something like that.
It's,
And just like that might be a response that might be coming from your childhood
yeah,
that you
trauma
didn't know about.
responses are huge. And if you can learn to pinpoint the trauma
Hmm.
response, like exactly what their response to the trauma, like your previous trauma is, if you can pinpoint that and work on that, then the trauma response will slowly start to go away.
Yeah. You can deconstruct it and start fresh.
So for me, like I used to like kind of panic because we did long distance for like actually no, it was like 6 to 10 months. It was a really long time. But we did long distance. And so when I didn't hear from him for a really long time, I never like worried that he was gonna cheat because he's really just not that person.
Hmm.
But not hearing from him a lot of times caused a lot of anxiety of like, oh my God, is he okay? And for me, a lot of my trauma responses come from losing my dad. And so not hearing from him and knowing that he's okay would create that trauma response of like, oh my gosh, he's dead. Like, it terrible. They don't
Hmm.
even correlate, but that's how the trauma response in me worked.
Yeah. That's how you explained it. And
It was, yeah, it took a really long time to figure that out.
yeah, I mean, sometimes you have like, I'm thinking about one thing for me. I wasn't diagnosed with anxiety, just like you, I feel like about 2 years ago.
I think we
And
got diagnosed around the same time.
yeah, I feel like we did.
Woo!
And so, yeah, bestie.
Let's go. Hey, as long as it's in check, we Gucci.
But it's one thing also that I feel like is very helpful with mental health and having several in parenthesis issues or
Mm,
problems is that when you're surrounded with people that are sort of going through the same thing or know what it's like, even though it's different for everybody,
mhm.
the general package is the same.
Yeah.
So you can just like go to your friends and be like, oh my God, today was so bad. And you can go and talk to people that understand what you're going through.
Mhm.
Because it's so hard for people that do not have anxiety to understand the thought process of someone who's very anxious.
Yes. And on that note, like I have built a server of like 110 girls that
Woo woo.
either that either follow like my writing or follow K-pop because that's just what we're into. Um, and I'd say almost every single one of us is introverted with social anxiety. And
Hmm.
I've gotten a group of like maybe 30 here in the state. And we've gotten some get togethers where it's been like 15 or 20 of us. And because I've created this server where it has a mental health check in spot,
That's
they have
nice.
all
I
become
love that.
really comfortable with each other. And so all of these girls who've never met each other, we had a Galentine's like 2, 3 weekends ago. It was so much fun because everybody kind of already knew each other. We all kind of already knew that there weren't any expectations. Like everyone was like, what are we going to do for dress code? And I was like, wear your freaking PJs. We have no one here to impress.
Yeah, let's just enjoy ourselves.
I was like, come comfortable and bring your favorite food. Like that was literally the only parameters. And everyone came in like PJs and they were comfortable. And one of the girls came up here and was in, my
I
little
love that.
sanctuary room because she got overwhelmed. And I was like, upstairs. Like, you're fine. She's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I don't care. And the rest of them are not going to care. Just go upstairs. You're fine. Watch music videos, play
Yeah.
Roblox. You do you. Another one, when we were playing one of our games, she just had her head laying on my dog bed, and she was just scrolling on her phone while we were playing like Cards Against Humanity. And she was
Yeah.
like, it was so nice to be able to just be present without having to like perform.
Yeah, exactly. Because performing is so
Tiring.
draining and tiring. Yeah.
And
I'll put
so like I created this server with that in mind. Like a lot of like what I write has a lot of like really heavy topics, but
Mhm.
I love writing the trauma so I can write the fix because I want to have like examples for these people that read my fan fiction or my normal writing. They can watch this character go through all this
writing, by the
horrible
way.
stuff. Thank you. I'm a butcher for my characters. I always feel so bad. I'll sit there and I'm writing this scene and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
I'm such a horrible person.
But the
Making you
whole
go through
point of
this.
it, but the whole point of it for me is it's not only a way for me to process how I'm feeling, but also a way to show people how to like communicate and to show and like write out these different coping mechanisms that I've learned. And some of the girls have even come back and been like, dude, watching your character go through like getting stabbed and losing her ovaries and like all this other stuff to like getting married, going through IVF and like doing all these other things and like coming out okay on the other side has like been so hopeful for them. So it's been really
Yeah.
cool to like see that.
Yeah, I'll put Sam's server's link down in the description of this episode. So if anyone who's listening to it wants to join and have a little fun with women that do understand what you're going through, go for it.
You don't
And
have to like K-pop and you don't have to read my writing. We are just a safe
it's just
space.
girls supporting girls and
Yeah.
understanding each other and communicate. Yeah, I love that.
We have like daily quotes. I'll do health reminders. So I usually say, make sure you hydrate, make sure you eat, make sure you medicate. Or like
Basic
the other day I was having
struggled.
a rough one. And so my quote of the day was, fuck this shit, I'm out, if you remember that.
That's me. Well, before it was me, it was Murphy from the 100.
Yes. So I put that in my server
Yeah.
the other day and I was like, oh, I was thinking of you and I wrote that.
It's such a good quote. It's such a good quote. It's like when you're over shit, it's like, fuck this shit.
Yeah. And then I also have like a space where like it's called deep thoughts of the day. And so like I've gone over like, oh my gosh, let me see if I can pull it up really quick because I don't remember all the topics, but I've gone over like the difference between, oh gosh, one second. Let me pull this up because it's no, not that one. Thought of the day. So I've done, let's see. Like this one was, you're allowed to outgrow people even when you still love them.
Exactly.
And like I went through a whole thing. I went through the difference between running away from a problem and boundaries. So I wrote a boundary is an act of self-respect, where running away is fear, like dressed up in like self-protection. So like you are scared and so you're running, where you are doing an act of self-respect by setting a boundary with somebody else. And those are two different things. You can set a boundary without running away from something. Let's see what else. We've also done, you're not responsible for other people's reactions to your boundaries, or like
Facts.
you can't control how other people are going to react or how they're going to, respond to things. I've done emotional responsibility versus emotional burden. So like when you're talking with friends, there's a difference between being the person that you can like talk to without like, oh, how do you put it? You know how sometimes when you talk to people and they just trauma dump on you and it's a lot, and you take that on to like, and you make it your problem to fix. There's a difference between being an open space to let someone vent without taking that responsibility on, and setting that boundary is very, very healthy.
Yeah. You are not people's lifesaver,
No.
no matter what your good intentions are.
Yeah,
Think
definitely.
and take care of your own problems before taking on others. And I've seen friends do that of like trying to save everybody else but themselves. And then you just lose yourself in this situation.
Yeah.
You sort of absorb those, I don't know, maybe like,
You absorb the negative vibes and
yeah.
it unintentionally can trigger your own trauma responses, which then
Oh,
causes you to spiral.
absolutely.
It,
Absolutely.
it's so I've got a whole section on there for like thoughts of the day of that kind of stuff. And like it's been like I've gotten so much positive responses out of it, and they're like, this is really good information. And again, it's so silly, but it all goes back to these are things that my dad taught me when I was a kid, but I didn't understand them
Mhm.
until I was in my 20s.
I love that you did that and that you can all help each other out somehow. I love that. It's so supportive. One of the things that I wanted to mention was also that, you've mentioned that some of the girls have been reading your writing in your stories.
Mm-hmm.
As one who does that, Samantha writes phenomenally. Like, I love how she writes, and you can feel when you're reading that there's a lot of dedication that goes into it. You have your writers, like, there's a bunch of writers in the world, and there are some writers that I have trouble reading.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense,
It
but
does.
and there's other writers like you, like Frida McFadden
Mm-hmm.
or like Abby Jimenez, that I love to read because I love the way you write.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do know what you mean though.
And
Like I've read so many things on like Wattpad or 803 or just regular books, and there's some writers that write very minimalistically, but it's good. And then there's some writers that write way over the top, but it's still good.
yeah, it still
There's
works.
also but there's also those writers that try to do those things and you're just like, what? What?
And you mentioned how some of the girls have come forward to you and say, like, I love how this character in this situation helped
Mm,
me and made me understand some things. And I feel like that has happened to me during my depression,
mm,
where I was reading a lot aside from thrillers and criminal things. It might seem silly to others when you're like just reading romance,
mm,
but in those romance books, they talk about so many things. And
mhm.
I've talked about one that was called Daydream. I think I talked about it in my last episode, book club meeting number 3, where when I was reading this character was the firstborn daughter of the family. And I saw so much of myself in her, a little too much, I'll admit. All of it. At some points, I was reading certain pages and I was like, this is hitting a little too close to home.
You're like, why do I feel so seen and called out right now?
Like, I feel called out. Did I want to be called out? Not
No.
really. But you do have to get called out to grow from it. And so, as you were also talking about boundaries, as firstborn daughters, we didn't necessarily were taught to have boundaries because we were taught to always say yes to everything because you're the firstborn. And I'm talking like, I said firstborn daughter because I'm a girl, but it might be firstborn men.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can be
Any firstborn, they really
any
like,
firstborn,
especially
like in general.
if there's like additional siblings. Like I'm like half an only child. I have an older half sister, but like I've seen it because like my sister had always been that person that would take care of me and the other two on her mom's side, and
Mm-hmm.
in her older years now, she's like, yeah, no, you figure it out on your own. Which I'm
Exactly.
proud of her for figuring that out. But like definitely when you're younger as a firstborn child, like you learn that you're the yes kid all the time.
Yeah, and you're never given the option to say no. And that is something that I figured has sort of come out in my professional life where I have a hard time saying no.
Mm.
Because when I feel that if I say no, I'll get fired. Like no in between, no in between. No
Yeah.
comes with consequences when it actually doesn't. And you have a right to say no. It can be in your professional surroundings and it can be in your family surroundings and even your friend surroundings. Like all of it, you are allowed to say no and it's okay. And it's not going to be the end of the world. But as a firstborn, as soon as you get a sibling, your parents sort of push all those responsibilities on you so
Hmm.
they can take care of another child that's younger and that needs attention. And also, you're the sort of experienced child. You're the first child that will go to high school, that will want to go and do trips with your friends, that will want to go abroad, that will want to go to college and then get an apartment and then get a first job.
Hmm.
So, like, your parents sort of are very much strict with you when you're first born
Hmm.
because,
Because you're the experimental child. They're
yeah,
learning how to parent with you, and then
yes,
they perfect it with the next siblings, and it's hard because being that little guinea pig, it takes its toll.
yeah, yeah, because I'm seeing like how differently, even though we were raised the same, the treatments were very different. And I get that it could have come from unknown, something unknown for them,
Hmm.
but it's also like you have to let your child experience when they turn 18.
Yep.
You don't really have a say in it. And that's where I didn't really set boundaries of like, I'm just going to do whatever the heck I want anyway. And you can't say anything and you can't go against that.
Yeah. That's definitely like that transition, I think, between 18 and like 21 and like learning the boundaries of what you can and can't say to your parents once you're your own adult is so hard.
Yeah, it's so hard because you're like, damn, she's going to smack me in the face.
Right. And they probably, not even probably, they definitely went through that transition too, but it's like
It's so
it's
far
been
from.
yeah, it's been so long. It's like, well, okay, you had your experimental phase. Now let me go
Mhm.
learn. Let me go learn.
And it's going to be different for me than it was for you because also time period is different. Society is different.
Yeah.
Like, I know you might be scared for, your first child, but you got to let them experience, just like you need to let them process their emotions. It's kind of the same. So, yeah, reading that book, loved it. But, it taught me about a lot of anxiety and coping mechanism that I had. So, I don't think I could not advise people not to read
Mhm.
whatever they want to read
Yeah.
because it goes way deeper than whatever the surface is. It's not just like a romance book.
Yeah, it's not just romance because like trauma victims, depending on the book, will see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or that hey, like I can cope this way, or hey, like they put their foot down, they set this boundary, that's okay, I can do
Hmm.
that. And it books and written word really can inspire people to do things that they wouldn't have normally done otherwise.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, and it
Hmm.
also like me figure out some unconscious mechanism that I had with my anxiety. Like I I'm in a theater and when you choose like your seat, my spot is always I'm never gonna be the first one they see or try to attack, but I'm not gonna be the last person they will see. I'm just like somewhat in the middle.
You're
So
like,
I
I'm gonna
have a chance
hide in the crowd.
to survive. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that was totally unconscious. And then I tried to analyze wherever I was sitting in like just a simple room. Where do I gravitate towards to?
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's definitely like anxiety. Like my therapist said something to me that just clicked was if you overthink things too much. For example, if you're driving and all you can think about is the worst case scenario of like what happens if I crash.
mhm,
That's anxiety. That is your brain trying to lie to you that something bad is going to happen when the likelihood of that actually happening is like not even there. So she used to tell me, "Well, what does experience tell you?" And I'd be like, "Well, I've never gotten into a car accident. I mean, I've had like two fender benders, but they were not my fault."
mhm.
And she's like, "Okay, so you've been driving since you were like 15 and you've only had two accidents. Experience would tell you that you're not the likelihood that you're going to get into a car accident is really, really low. So you don't need to have that much anxiety about it." And just learning that, and that applies to all of the situations. I mean, anxiety could look like, oh, my husband's leaving. Oh my God, his plane's gonna crash. Oh my God, I'm never gonna see him again. Like those are anxious thoughts that are
Yeah,
trying to trick your brain to go into fight or flight mode.
yes, because it's so used to being in fight or flight mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so fight or flight mode became the norm
Yes.
when it actually isn't. And that is so tiring for your body.
And
High stress
it can make you
cortisol
sick.
levels are so high.
It can literally, there is like it has happened to me where like I have gotten so anxious that I have literally made myself sick and I thought it was food poisoning.
Yeah, I
But
I
it was
can
just by anxiety. Like that's how bad it would get.
yeah. Like, when I first before I realized I was depressed and going through a lot of anxiety,
Mhm.
it took me 45 minutes to get to work. And so I would, start at 9, but I would usually wake up around like 7:30 or something like that and leave around like 8. But as soon as I would get up, my body would literally give up on me.
Mhm.
I would have signs that my body was going to faint. I was
Yeah.
feeling nauseous. Like it was trying everything in its power to make me stay home
Yeah.
and not go
Because
to
the
do
anxiety was so
anything.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
my body was trying to protect me.
Yep.
Like it's
I
so bad out there. It's better you stay here.
I know exactly what you mean because when I used to open the store at Starbucks in Florida,
Hmm.
I would get up in the morning, and now that I have my anxiety under control, I no longer have that morning nausea that I would have every single morning for like 6 years. I was like
Yeah.
in Florida in particular, it was always really bad because like especially if there was one particular shift supervisor that was working that I would have to go in to work with and like trade with because I was another shift. So I would go in,
Hmm.
and if they were working, I would literally spend the first 45 minutes of my shift standing over the food thing, like trying not to puke
Yeah.
because
It's so
I
bad.
was so nauseous and so anxious about the chaotic mess that I was walking into that my body was like, now we're not doing
Rejecting it.
it today. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
literally just physically rejecting the idea of it.
Yeah. Your body is like warning you before you realize mentally that you cannot handle this situation anymore because you've been pushing through for so long that at one point your body has to physically make you feel nauseous or physically make you faint to actually make you stop because it knows it will be the only thing to make you stop.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd continue to go.
The body is a beautiful, beautiful, very complicated computer.
Yeah.
And the nervous system and all the different hormones that go into it are your warning system for when that those fight or flight, you have the hair raised on your arms, you get the goosebumps, like
Hmm.
those kinds of things are your signs of like, hey, slow down, there's something not right, you're not coping right with something right here. So
Hmm.
I very much implore people who are listening to stop for a second when you feel those like anxious, sick moments and be like, okay, why? What is
Why?
actually going on? And then just talk yourself through it and try to call back on your experience of like, well, I've done this before. How was it? Did I actually have issues? No. Then why am I freaking out?
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. Like that, honestly, like the one thing that I took from my therapy from like an actual psychiatrist, not like just a talk therapist,
Mm-hmm.
like was that. It was if experience tells you that you were fine, then you're probably going to be fine still.
Yeah. And it's always also good to always listen and pay attention to whatever your body is telling you.
Absolutely.
Because
Your body's nervous system is your fire alarm. If it's going off,
yeah, you need
you
to
are
listen.
yeah, you need to listen to it because you're not mentally feeling safe.
Yeah. You said that you had ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
How did you figure that out?
It was before my dad passed. Um, eighth grade year, my parents like split for a little bit, and for whatever reason, my dad ended up like going to a doctor and getting diagnosed. And that summer that he was on meds, my mom realized he was a quote unquote different person because like the impulse control was kind of in check and he wasn't being as impulsive and some of those like triggers that can be really annoying as an ADHD person who's not or annoying to a person who doesn't have ADHD
Mm-hmm.
um kind of started to simmer down and so they tried again and then when they realized that they both had it they were like well let's get our daughter tested.
Yeah,
If we both have it then
he
she
probably
probably
does
does.
too.
Yeah, and I did and so I spent let's see, a freshman year all the way to senior year on Vyvanse. And then when I went to New Zealand, I actually ran out of meds while I was there. And I realized being off the meds, I felt so much better because a side effect of the Vyvanse was loss of appetite. And so I'm like 5'4" something, and back then I was like 80 pounds. And like today I'm like 135, almost 140, which is right where I should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like my thighs didn't touch, all sorts of things. But as soon as I came off that Vyvanse, the weight started to come back on. And I realized that my eating disorder had really come from that medication. And
Okay.
so, because I used to just like binge and purge, or I would, anorexia where I just starve myself because I just wasn't hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stopped taking the meds for about 10 years. And then, like, around the same time I started the anxiety meds, I started back up on a stimulant,
Mm-hmm.
ADHD meds. So I started on Adderall, and then that made me feel like a crackhead junkie where I was on like 10 espresso shots a day. Like my hands would shake, I wouldn't have an appetite.
Oh
I felt
well.
like I was talking a million miles a minute. It was crazy. So I stopped taking that, went back on the Vyvanse because that was a familiar drug. And
Mm-hmm.
then again, the same thing happened. I stopped eating as much. My appetite went down. I started losing weight. And so I stopped that. And I finally asked my doctor, and I was like, look, I need a medication because I have the memory of a squirrel and the attention span of like a fish. And so I like a huge reason why I think I failed out of college was I wasn't on any of ADHD meds. And
Mm-hmm.
so she finally started me on a non-stimulant ADHD med, and I've been on that now for like 6 months, and it's been way nicer. I definitely notice when I don't take it, but I don't actively notice the medication working until I'm not taking it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
So like I
absolutely.
don't I don't feel like my blood pressure is going up the roof out the roof because the stimulants just, pumping the blood like crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to take this one at night. So I just have night meds now, which is really nice. But yeah, so around like 15 or 16 was right around the time that I found out No, it was sooner. 14. I was 14.
Wow, that's
So I
really early.
took so I took ADHD medication from 14 to 18, and then I stopped taking it from like 18 till about 26.
Mm,
And then I've been on and off of it for the last 2 years trying to find what works for me.
hmm And also, a disclaimer that I wanted also to talk about is it's okay to be medicated.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not a burden, it's for your own good.
The way that my therapist told me and like kind of convinced me is like it's a tool. So I
Hmm
started with therapy first because I wanted to see if I was chemically up in my head able to learn these coping skills and get my own anxiety under control. And when it wasn't working, that was when I was finally like, okay, maybe I should try something because clearly I'm doing the work
hmm
to get better, but I'm still sitting here having panic attacks and like having, suicide ideation. Like,
hmm
not actual, like, oh, again, trigger warning, not having like actual like suicidal thoughts, but like suicide ideation is when you're like, well, my life would just be so much better if I didn't exist.
Yeah,
It's not like
the
an
way you
actual like,
word it.
yeah, yeah. And so like it got to the point where it was bad enough that I actually for the very first time like cut myself.
Hmm
And that was when I realized like, oh my gosh, okay, clearly like I'm doing the work, but it's not enough. And
hmm
so that's not a bad thing. I mean, I work with adults with disabilities every single day, and
hmm
ADHD is a learning disability, and there's nothing wrong with you as a person. You were just born
Yeah.
that way, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's
It is
okay.
it is 100% okay to need a medication to be able to function in such a high stress society,
Yeah.
honestly, because between the ages of like 18 and 21-ish for me, my life, yes, I had really crappy relationships, but my life was also pretty routine. I
hmm
got up, I went to college, I did my classes, I came home, I took a shower, I went to work.
Yeah.
And it was like that almost every single day, 4 or 5 days a week. And then when I didn't, I would just sit at home and be a vegetable all day long.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got into a career where I'm working 24/7 on call that I realized my anxiety is not manageable and that level of like stress. And
hmm
so if I wasn't working in a career like this, I probably could come off of the medication and be okay just using my
Yeah.
coping skills.
Yeah.
But working in a career where everything is so high stress, so emotional because I love these kids, but oh my goodness, they feel their feels so strongly. And
hmm
I'm very much sponged. And so I learned very quickly that I could not manage my own emotions and take on the other emotions of everybody else and try to help them fix it because that is my job
Yeah.
without some kind of chemical help. And so I'm now on a ADHD non-stimulant and I'm on an antidepressant anxiety med and I do great. I do
That's
have like moments this morning where I was like, I have to go out in public.
good.
Okay. So I do still have those moments, but because of the medication, I'm able to finally like it slows my brain down enough that I can finally pinpoint it where I can
hmm
actually cope with it. Whereas
Yeah.
before my brain
You
would
can
just immediately,
balance things out.
yeah, my brain would immediately just feel that anxiety and go into fight or flight instead of feeling
Hmm
the anxiety and being able to just pause,
hmm
recognize, acknowledge, cope, and then keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting that you're saying all of this because I have this sort of experience with when I first got diagnosed with depression. So when I first was diagnosed, I only started taking my anxiety meds.
Mhm.
I did not want to touch my antidepressants. And also, my parents didn't want me to.
Mhm.
So, in that way, I sort of like got scared about these because you can also be very addicted to those. Like, it's one of the
Mhm.
side effects, very
Yeah.
known side effect.
Yeah.
But I was like you at first. I was like, okay, I'll take my anxiety med. And maybe once I tone that down, once I'm able to control it again and go to therapy, maybe I will need those antidepressants.
Mhm.
Turns out, if my doctor actually gave them to me, it was probably because I needed a little help.
Yep.
Because,
And that's okay.
like you, I had this routine of like working from Monday to Friday,
Mhm.
and then just being a vegetable in bed, literally rotting in it until I had the obligation to go out.
Mhm.
And as I was living in Paris for 2 years, I had always been excited for the weekends and had always been excited to go out and into walk in this pretty city that Paris is and do sort of like sightseeings, even though I live there.
Mhm.
And by the time I was going through my depression, and I didn't know it at the time, I didn't want to get out. And that was not something that I was used to do. Like, I didn't feel the want to get out in any
Mhm.
way, shape, or form. Taking a shower had become a struggle.
Gosh. Oh my
Like
gosh.
like I have to get
Hygiene?
up and I have to go in the shower and I have to do all my hair shit and wash my
Yeah,
body, or sometimes just even wash my body. That was
dude,
becoming a struggle. It was taking
anxiety and
so much of my
depression.
energy.
Yes. No, literally, like hygiene is one of the biggest things that I see in like myself and then clients when they're having, their issues. The hygiene is the last thing they're thinking about and the last thing that they want to do.
Yeah, because it takes so
So much
much
effort.
efforts. And
Yes.
it's like I never got to the point where, I was smelling, but I was pushing it away as much as I could.
Mhm. Just going right up to that edge and then being like, okay.
Okay, now you need to get a shower. Like that is becoming urgent. But I was also not getting out. So what was the point of, taking a shower?
Right.
And one of the things that sometimes I'll think about is like when I came back to my parents' house after leaving Paris, even emptying the dishwasher was a fucking task to do.
Laundry for me.
Makes sense. That would have probably been one too if I had still been living in Paris on my own.
I still struggle with that even though I'm medicated. I will say that much though.
I mean laundry.
So bad.
Laundry. Fuck.
I think the other like important thing to remember too is like it's okay to test the waters with medications too because
Yeah.
it is scary to all of a sudden be like, here, take these drugs. And it's like, well, what's it gonna do to me?
Like how am I gonna feel? Yeah, you
How am
feel
I
so
gonna feel?
different.
What kind of side effects am I gonna have? It's scary. And so it's okay to test the waters and take your
Mm-hmm.
time. Because if you rush into it without mentally willingly wanting to do it,
Yeah.
then it becomes a chore to remember to take the medication. And
Exactly.
then you slip. And the thing with antidepressants and anxiety meds is if you miss one day
Yeah.
or if you get off your schedule by even like 3 or 4 hours, what
So bad.
happens is the drug then comes out of your system almost completely and it takes 2 weeks for it to completely start working again. And so if you're not consistent with it, then you're starting fresh every single day and it doesn't do you like, and then the medication at that point is just pointless. And sleep is so important too, especially
You
for
know,
mental health.
yeah. And it's also the way your body resources itself. And also something that I feel like I have now from depression is that sometimes I cannot handle noises. Like it's some kind of autistic trait that I have now.
I know what you mean. Like I'll be sitting in here and I'll already have like my process going and I've gotten comfortable with it. I'll have like music going, I'll be writing. And then bless my husband's heart, he'll come in here, which I'm totally fine with. I want him to come and hang out with me. And he'll
Hmm.
lay on the air mattress next to me because we don't have a couch yet. And he'll start scrolling through memes at like half volume on his phone. And the mix of my music plus the dogs barking plus his memes, sometimes I'm just like, I can't handle it. Can't handle it at
Yeah.
all. And I'm like, I'll like either turn at him and I'll be like, babe, I love you. I either need you to turn your phone down, or if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna turn my music off. And so usually it's like 50-50. Like one time I'll turn my music off and then another time like he'll like watch his memes. Cause like we share the space, so we have to share the audio space. So we have to like
Hmm.
anyway, so we
Yeah.
figured that out. But like, yeah, I totally get it. And I think that's partially again why this morning was a lot, because we went to a restaurant and there was a
Oh,
we were having conversation at the table, but then there was a conversation behind me and over here, and my
yeah.
brain just the ADHD side of me was trying to latch on to something,
Hmm.
but I couldn't latch on to anything other than the conversations around me. And so like I was having such a hard time being present at the table. It was terrible.
Hmm. Yeah. Makes so much sense. Sometimes I feel like that whenever, I'm at a family dinner and there's just so much noise between everybody talking, cats meowing, dogs barking, laughter. Like all of this is great. But sometimes when my anxiety is like gets bad or starting to get bad, I feel the need to separate myself from the group. So I'll go on the couch, put on the show that is comforting for me, that I know, so that way I can focus on it and I don't have to predict anything because I already know it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm focusing on that. Or sometimes the only things that pull me out of really bad anxiety attacks is Ariana Grande's song REM,
Yes.
because it's it has a beat, but it's sort of like close to a heartbeat.
Yep. And so you're able to like breathe with it and
So
get your heart rate down.
yeah, yeah, it's just so weird sometimes how your brain will react to things that you've normally considered normal or are
Mhm.
used to, and then all of a sudden like you can't handle it and you just have like really bad social anxiety.
Yeah. I think I've always had the auditory um overwhelm because,
Hmm.
for example, when I used to drive around my hometown with my one of my old friends, she would blast music like crazy in her car. And there was some days I could handle it and like I could, I sing along and vibe and do all that other stuff. And then there were some days I was like, I need you to turn it down. I'm getting auditory overload. And
Hmm.
I just remember her getting so annoyed with it sometimes. And I always used to just sit there and feel so bad because she'd be like sitting there vibing, but it'd be like down here instead of like high
Yeah.
energy. So yeah, no, it definitely. And I think sound really can play a huge part in things because if you're trying to process your emotions,
Uh-huh.
but you don't have familiar sounds, so like
Hmm.
music that you choose or like a comfort TV show or even just peace and quiet,
Yeah.
without those comfort sounds, trying to process the emotions and how you're feeling becomes like 10 times harder.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But what is weird with me is that I think I've somehow always had a bit of that. Like you, I can't do music blasting in my ears because I need to hear myself
Mm-hmm.
thinking or even like, singing and vibing. Except if I go in a club, like I chose to have that music be blasting
Right.
in my ears. But in a car, I like to hear my surroundings.
Yes.
But I also like the music to be loud, but like not too loud.
There's
And
like that perfect happy medium where you can still hear the road, you can
yeah,
still hear yourself, but
yeah,
the music is just loud enough that it drowns out the inner thoughts.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was struggling so bad when, like, was when I was on anxiety meds, when I would fall asleep because
Mm.
the quiet, it would be quiet in the room, but it would never be quiet in my
Yes.
mind. And it's
Yes.
like, I need something to turn
Yeah.
the voices down. Like, I can't keep having conversations with myself for half an hour when I need to
Mm-hmm.
be dead ass asleep. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep doing that. So one of the things that I did was put on ASMR.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
So
I remember you
either
telling me
like
that.
a chimney noise or a rainy noise or just like clicking and tapping noises
Yep. I
that
have
helps my brain focus on that thing and just make everything else stop. And I've
yeah.
always had that also when I was like always doing my homework. I would
Mm-hmm.
always put on a TV show.
Yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily be music, except if it was like an exercise. I could do that with music. But if I was doing anything else, I would always have on a show. And when I'm working too, I always have to have some sort of
Something.
video or a TV show.
That's the
Be-
ADHD.
oh my God, I have some traits. I told you.
Because what it does is you've got the front brain, which is the brain that's working on like the task that you're trying to work on, and
Yeah.
then you've got the back. I call it the back brain, where it's all your other background thoughts are going on: the anxiety, the ADHD, the squirrel in the background,
Hmm.
dog from Up, squirrel, like that.
Oh my God, that's literally it. Oh
No,
my God,
literally,
squirrel. Hold on.
literally.
Was that in
So
Vampire Sucks, the
no,
movie?
no.
Oh my God. Oh no, he says, oh my God, cat. And he goes running to it. You know the Twilight parody?
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, you're right.
But anyways,
Anyways, so like what that does is having music or having a show in the background keeps the back brain distracted.
yeah,
So it doesn't distract the front brain from the task you're trying to do.
exactly. This is exactly what it is.
It's
And
so crazy.
it's so crazy. Like, I was at work, on my computer at the office, and, I would always have like, the screen in bar, that shows the video or
Yeah.
the TV show that I have on when I'm on another window so that I know that it's there. I'm not
Yeah.
watching. My eyes is not focused on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I just know that it's there and that it's in my ears. And so I would have people, come around me and be like, "Are you watching something?" I'm like, "No, I'm not watching it. It just helps me focus on the task at hand that I have to do so that
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at anything else." And it was one of the complaints that I got when, they were trying to harass me in some way.
Mm-hmm.
It was part of my harassment at work where it was like, Lauren's not sitting down in the right way. She's watching things on her computer. She always has her headphones on
I remember you telling me about that. Ugh. That
because
work
they
place
couldn't
drives me
criticize my work. So
nuts.
they were criticizing the way I was working.
Mhm.
And it's like everybody else has their headphones on. They're just listening to music.
Right. Like, why is it
I'm not
different to
listening to music because I'll
have
start,
going on in the background?
yeah. If it's music, I'll start dancing and and just like
I'm
vibing to
saying
the song. And so then my front brain is distracted.
distracted. Yes.
So it has to be some sort of YouTube video that I've seen 1,000 times or a TV show.
Yep. For me, it's Grey's Anatomy. I just throw that
Mm,
on in the background and I'm like, I've seen this so many times. Like
yeah.
I could recite the dialogue. Same thing with like Lord of the Rings. Like,
Yeah. For me, it's Criminal Minds, Pretty
heck
Little
yeah.
Liars.
Good.
And for YouTube videos, it's like Sam and Colby paranormal investigations from, I don't know, The Conjuring House or Weird Houses, Winchester House. But I've seen those videos like 1,000 times. I know what happens in those videos. I don't need to like be there and like look at it.
But the audio of
But
it is keeping the back brain distracted. It's like a little kid with an iPad, honestly.
yes,
It's like you've got the adult brain up here, and then you've got the kid brain back here that needs the freaking iPad in the back seat so it doesn't kick you in the seat and be like, "Are we there yet?"
yeah, literally,
Oh
it's
gosh.
crazy. Because some people are like, I don't know how you work like that, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, but that's just how I am. Am I bothering you, telling you I don't know how you work in complete silence? No, that could never be me because the back brain would be like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
What,
like
what
let's
am I eating tonight? Oh my God, what if I did this? What if I did that? And I'm like,
I take my meds. Do I need to go to the gym? Like all of yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, all the kinds of conversations that you would have with yourself that you don't need to have right now. It's so like, you
So
know how
true.
sometimes I'm like forgetting to turn on my ASMR and I'll just start, falling asleep. Well, I turn the lights off and then all of a sudden it's like I'm in a crowd. And at one point I'm
Mm-hmm.
like trying to focus on my breathing, but then I start talking to myself and I'm like, girl, for the love of God, please shut the fuck up. You don't
Yes.
need to have that conversation right now. And
Yes.
that's what and
I
that's one of the reasons why I called my podcast the Sorting Thoughts podcast, because that way I can ramble and it just empties the back brain.
so you can go to sleep. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam, for joining me and for talking about this. I love this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You can come back whenever you want, and we will
Please
do
do.
part two. I will leave Sam's server's link, like I've said before, in the description of this episode if you guys want to check this out, if you want to feel supported, if you want to feel safe in a space where you can talk about anything and everything about your mental health. Please go and join. If you can, also read her stories because they're really good. Um, yeah. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you had a great time listening to this discussion, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.